Tonight, fatal accident. A crash in the Pine Pass claims the life of one person. Searching for answers. A family forced to wait days for a loved one to be identified and suspended. An investigation is underway into the president of the BC Métis Society. Good evening and thank you very much for joining us. And we begin tonight with a fatal accident on Highway 97 this weekend in the Pine Pass. It happened Saturday as a Dodge pickup collided with a Ford Bronco near Bijou Falls. The BC Highway Patrol says the driver and passengers of both vehicles were taken to hospital. They say a second passenger in the Ford Bronco, a 28-year-old woman from North Vancouver, did not survive the collision. Corporal Michael McLaughlin says investigators are looking for witnesses who have seen the minutes leading up to the crash. Mounties are also asking motorists who were in the area to check for dash cam footage. Anyone with any information is being asked to contact the BC Highway Patrol. Well, the Dawson Creek family is searching for answers after a man was killed in an accident last Tuesday. It happened around 10 p.m. on Highway 97 near 235 Road in Aris. Colin Trimble was driving an F-150 while towing an enclosed trailer. He was hit by another pickup and his vehicle burst into flames. The 55-year-old was pronounced dead at the Dawson Creek Hospital, but his family started to worry when he didn't show up to work. On Wednesday, they filed a missing person report with police in Dawson Creek and Grand Prairie, and they also called the Dawson Creek Hospital at least 4 times to ask if Trimble was there. He was there, but because he was so badly burned, the BC Coroner Service wasn't able to identify him until Thursday. Police saying he wasn't carrying any identification at the time, and the truck is still yet to be identified as belonging to him. It's not clear what led up to the accident, but Trimble's family is wanting some accountability. The Métis Nation of British Columbia has suspended their current president. The nation saying Walter Manolt from Dawson Creek was suspended after receiving complaints about his behavior. Manolt was elected president in September of 2024. The committee says his behavior since being elected has been inconsistent with their policies of the MNBC. They say the public brought information forward to the executive for consideration. Now, they will conduct an independent review of Manolt's time as president to determine if he remains in his position, and the results will be made public. The committee says suspending their president was not an easy decision, but it was in the best interest of their members. Melanie Allard has been named acting president while waiting for a decision on Manolt's future. Health officials have confirmed 10 new measles cases across BC, with the majority once again coming from the Northern Health region. The BC Centre for Disease Control confirming 8 new measles cases across Northeast BC, saying 1 case is currently considered to be active. They're also confirming a new measles case for both the Fraser Health and Interior Health regions. Health officials say the new total of cases is now 197 across the province. 88% of the cases come from people who have not been vaccinated against the virus. The BC CDC continues to say that immunization is the best way to fight the highly contagious virus. Well, to the latest on BC's wildfire fight now, a tense weekend in the Okanagan after an out-of-control wildfire forced the evacuation of nearly 24 homes in the Vernon area. The Bultras Creek wildfire sparked over the weekend and was burning about 8 kilometers from town. An active evacuation order affecting about 20 properties was put in place, but then lifted on Sunday. The fire is being described as stable and no longer showing signs of growth. Vernon officials note the fire is still visible to people traveling along Highway 97. Meantime, the last group of evacuees forced from their homes by a blaze north of Nanaimo have finally been allowed to return home. The BC Wildfire Service saying crews have made significant progress in combating the Wesley Ridge blaze, which is now listed as being under control. This weekend, an evacuation order for the final 35 properties and an evacuation alert for another 268 properties were both lifted. At one point, hundreds of residents had been ordered out of their homes due to the fire that was discovered back on July the 31st. And the danger of wildfires is all too present here in British Columbia, but now Ottawa is pouring millions of dollars into research to help fight them. Here's Kathy Lee with what experts say is a critical component to future wildfire fights.
More than 7 million hectares burned nationwide. The wildfire season shows no sign of slowing down as flames continue to sweep across the landscape.
We know that a warming climate means more fire.
The federal government announcing this week $46 million in funding for 30 research projects to manage and mitigate wildfires.
By accelerating how we develop and adopt innovative and adaptive wildfire and forestry practices.
One of those projects focuses on how communities in BC manage their surrounding forests.
To run computer models and to help them assess, have we done enough? And how good a job, how could we improve into the future?
10 of the projects Indigenous-led, including program funding for the Blood Tribe in Alberta that utilizes ancient cultural burning practices.
Utilizing fire has been one management technique that has been on the landscape and then has been suppressed. It's really crucial from an ecological standpoint, a cultural standpoint, and then just that expression of sovereignty.
Everything that they can do to help mitigate the risk to communities across the country is a necessary measure.
The scars still present in Jasper more than a year after wildfire destroyed a third of the town, including the mayor's home. He wants a national strategy for community resilience and recovery.
I see this as at least a positive step in that direction. It's not yet a national strategy, but at least some funding for national knowledge.
We're not going to suppress our way out of this. We never could and we never will.
Some of the projects will provide immediate short-term guidance on where to allocate resources, but much of the research will help shape wildfire responses in the long term. Kathy Lee, CTV News, Calgary.
Pierre Poilievre's future is on the line with today's by-election in Alberta. The Conservative leader must win the seat in the riding of Battle River-Crowfoot in order to return to Parliament. It's considered a safe seat for the Conservatives, but hundreds of names are on the ballot, and that's complicated things.
Opened at 8:30 this morning, and voters got an early start at the multiple voting stations in Camrose like this one. The consensus I'm hearing this morning from people I've spoken to is whether voters are for or against Pierre Poilievre, they all agree that he will most likely win. Those in support of Poilievre are excited. Those who aren't have expressed frustration, even sadness.
He's not going to care what's going on in the constituency.
He's a good leader, honestly.
Poilievre is expected to win in this safe riding, which has been traditionally conservative and strategically chosen for him to run, so he can get back into the House of Commons after losing his seat in the spring general election. How much he wins by is what many people will be watching for today. The former MP Damien Currick, who stepped aside for Poilievre to run, won with 83% of the vote.
If he doesn't do as well, because it's such a strong conservative base here, then they might be looking at a leadership review.
Poilievre is one of 214 candidates on the ballot, which is record-breaking. The majority are with the longest ballot committee, a protest group calling for electoral reform, who also ran a campaign in Poilievre's former Ottawa riding. Elections Canada says more than 14,000 people voted in advance polls, and because of the large number of people on the ballot, for the first time ever, voters will write out the name of their preferred candidate. Elections Canada will also start counting ballots from advance polls earlier in the day to ensure that results are available as quickly as possible tonight.
Well, tensions are sky high as Air Canada flight attendants defy a back-to-work order. Even after being ordered back to work this weekend by Ottawa, union members continue to walk the picket line. But tonight, flights are grounded and passengers are still stranded. As Heather Wright reports, there's been an immense impact on air travel both here at home and around the world.
For the third straight day, Air Canada flight attendants are on the pavement rather than in the skies, defying orders to return to work.
And if it means folks like me going to jail, then so be it. If it means our union being fined, then so be it.
The Canada Industrial Relations Board ordered the roughly 10,000 Air Canada flight attendants to return to work yesterday, after the federal jobs minister asked the Labour Board to intervene just hours into the strike.
When the government came in and tried to stop our strike 12 hours after we started, we decided that that was not enough to put pressure on Air Canada to come back to the table. That's all we want. Air Canada, come back to the table.
At issue, wages and unpaid work. Flight attendants are only paid for the hours they work in the air, which doesn't include boarding and other on-the-ground duties. The airline has offered a pay increase of 17.2% over 4 years, which the company's CEO calls an excellent offer.
That will result in our flight attendants being the best compensated flight attendants in Canada, bar none.
But the union says that increase doesn't account for inflation over the last decade.
Starting flight attendants now are making $1,900 a month in an area where rent is $2,000.
The job action has left roughly 500,000 passengers stranded, many unsure when they will be able to get home.
I'm supposed to start a job on Wednesday. That's not going to happen.
Today, the Prime Minister weighed in, calling the impasse disappointing.
I urge both parties to resolve this as quickly as possible, and the Minister will have more to say. Minister Hyde will have more to say later.
The union is challenging the back-to-work order in court, so it's unclear how much longer this strike might last. Some estimating it is costing the airline about $60 million a day. Heather Wright, CTV News, Mississauga, Ontario.
More than 1.4 million Canadians missed a credit card payment in the second quarter of this year, and that's exposing a deepening financial divide among consumers across the country. That number is more than 100,000 over the same time last year. It is, however, down slightly from the first quarter of this year. Equifax says younger people and those who don't own homes are facing the most significant financial challenges. About 1 in 19 Canadians without a mortgage missed a credit card payment. Compare that to 1 in 37, almost double, with homeowners. Some of the most powerful leaders in the world went to the White House today to talk to the U.S. president. They were there to talk about peace for Ukraine, but they were also there to add a buffer for Vladimir Zelensky. It was the Ukrainian president's first meeting with Donald Trump since a disastrous dressing down earlier this year. Judy Trin reports.
The Ukrainian president arrived at the White House dressed in a black suit instead of his usual military uniform. Donald Trump took notice.
First of all, Mr. President Zelensky, you look fabulous in that suit.
I said the same thing.
Yeah, you look good.
I said the same thing.
Vladimir Zelensky also made sure he voiced his appreciation for the president's effort to end Russia's war on Ukraine.
Thank you very much for your efforts, personal efforts to stop killings and stop this war.
But the devil is in the details, and Zelensky wants to make sure the plan Trump discussed with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Alaska will respect Ukraine's sovereignty. Speaking with reporters, Trump said a deal can be worked out without a ceasefire.
We can work a deal where we're working on a peace deal while they're fighting. They have to fight. I wish they could stop. I'd like them to stop. But strategically, that could be a disadvantage for one side or the other.
On social media, Trump said on Sunday that Zelensky can end the war if it gives up Crimea and membership in NATO. Russia took over Crimea in 2014, and after 3.5 years of war, it controls almost all of the Donbas region in southeast Ukraine. Putin wants Ukraine to give up territory as a condition for peace.
When we talk about security, we're talking about the security not just of Ukraine, we're talking about the security of Europe.
To prevent Ukraine's interests from being subverted in a deal brokered by the U.S. and Russia, 7 European leaders from Britain, France, Germany, Italy, Finland, the European Union, and NATO's Secretary General traveled to Washington to stand with Zelensky to warn against trusting Putin and fight for security guarantees.
We're going to try and get a 3-party meeting, maybe as soon as we can.
Judy Trin, CTV News, Ottawa.
Hurricane Erin is not expected to make landfall in Nova Scotia or anywhere else in Canada, but expect to see some strong riptides.
Just looking ahead with Erin turning down south and coming up the coast a little bit, we're going to see the effects of that, so we have to be prepared for that as well.
The storm barreled through the Caribbean with high winds and heavy rains, leaving tens of thousands of people without power in Puerto Rico. Turks and Caicos has deployed troops to help with relief efforts. The Category 4 hurricane is expected to track between the east coast of the United States and Bermuda. All right, please do stay tuned. Noah will be right back after the break with weather.